Roseski.
Jurosic's so far behind the arc, she's not even an option.
Janikis for the lead!
This is the Westmoreland on the Hardwood podcast on the Westmoreland Sports Network. Here are your hosts, Jack Ridenhour and Sean Myers.
And we welcome you into another edition of the Westmoreland on the Hardwood podcast here on the Westmoreland Sports Network's YouTube channel. Sean Myers, joined by Jack Ridenhour for another jam-packed show. And Jack, we will have the most plays of the week we have ever had on this edition. We will also have our team of the week. That's the Penn-Trafford girls basketball team, who's certainly riding high. A look ahead at another busy week of action. But we begin with our starting five, the biggest takeaways from this past week, and there's a lot to get to. Let's begin with the Derry Area Trojans. They got a couple of big wins. In particular, they stunned Elizabeth Forward, who had been the top contender in the section. 72-66, Stanley Rakovich with 24 points, Braden Robinson with 23. They had some rough stretches earlier this season, no doubt about it. The Trojans came in with high expectations. A win like that reminds us and reminds everyone that maybe they can be a team that not only contends for a section, but potentially becomes a real postseason threat as well.
I think it also shows, Sean, especially after the fact that, these wins can compound in a positive way and the losses on the other side can compound in a negative way. Derry goes on and wins another one against East Allegheny, and then EF drops the next game against Southmoreland. So you can kind of see, and I think you even mentioned it in another episode, how some of these games can kind of be season-defining or big swing games, if you will. And for Derry, that's a big swing game for them to have against an EF team that, again, middle of the season right now, might be struggling. And the fact that you've got two guys filling it up for 20 points, now that's not going to happen all the time. Let's just be honest. That's just not going to happen all the time. But the fact that you've got Robinson and Rakovich that can both score in that volume, this Derry team could really make a lot of noise, not to mention it's a tight-knit group. They've played a lot of basketball together, very experienced as well, and that I could think, or at least I think could start to play out even more later on in this season.
Well, it's interesting because you mentioned that they won pretty convincingly against East Allegheny. That was a stunning result when they lost at EA earlier this season, and I think that had some people wondering maybe the Trojans were a bit overrated because they went into the season with a lot of fanfare and acclaim. But it does seem like they've righted the ship, and that second matchup against the Wildcats kind of shows proof of progress, doesn't it?
Without question. And again, I think it shows you it doesn't matter about how you start the season. You want to be peaking at the right time. You hear coaches say that all the time. We want our team to be playing the best basketball at the right time of season. And that's right now, about 2 weeks out from February. So you're looking at maybe about 4 more weeks of regular season basketball. You're staring in the face of the playoffs. And for Derry to have a win like this is truly a signature win for the Trojans.
Yeah, they're going to have a big week. A couple of Westmoreland County showdowns. They play at Greensburg Salem. I had the broadcast the first time those teams met. It came down to the wire. Trojans barely escaped. And then they host Bell Vernon Area, of course, the defending WPIAL champions. But Tom Esposito's crew certainly riding high after this past week in that win against Elizabeth Forward. Well, another team that's feeling pretty good about itself, the Hempfield Area Spartans. Hempfield, they got a couple of big road wins, knocking off Norwin at the Castle, and then I think a game that really showed that they, much like the Trojans, are a better team now than they were about a month ago. They went to Mount Lebanon and won 64-53 against the Blue Devils, a team that defeated them earlier this season at Hempfield. So all of a sudden, Austin Butler has his team in the thick of the postseason contention in the highest classification, Jack.
What a job Austin Butler has done with this program. Let's face it, Sean, the last maybe 4 or 5 years, Hempfield area boys basketball has been very just kind of there. Very flatline, just no real life to it. They would have a little bit of something going on, and then it would quickly die out. They could just never get any consistency, and I think that Austin Butler can provide that. I think that he is exactly what Hempfield area needed as a program, just a different set of eyes to be looking at the team, and I think it's starting to show. A guy like Danny Husentis has stepped into a bigger role, but then you look at Trevor Donson. I don't think we would have looked at Donson as a guy that could go off and rip 20 points at a moment's notice, and then he does it against Norwin on the road. So you've got a team like Hempfield that, again, like you said, very similar to Derry, kind of figuring it out at the right time, and I think a lot of people, especially in 6A, I'm sure, overlooked Hempfield and said, It's the Spartans. They'll be middle of the road, maybe. We don't have to worry about them. And then, boom, they come out of nowhere. And I think that's what we're starting to see. You mentioned the win against Norwin. That's a big one, especially in a road environment like that. But then also getting a big bounce-back win against Mount Lebanon. How huge is that for the standings? Now, those two have split, so that makes things a little bit more interesting down the stretch of the year. But I think Hempfield could make a lot of noise in the final week or two of the season. And who knows, Sean, we could be talking about them come the middle of February for playoffs.
There's a lot of teams that are at 4-4 right now in Class 6A Section 2. Upper St. Clair, Pittsburgh Central Catholic, each 7-1. Hempfield, Norwin, Mount Lebanon, Amani Christian, all 4-4 at this point. So it's a little bit of a jumbled mess in the middle. You talked about Donson, 20 points at Norwin. Danny Husenitz had 19 points against the Knights. The thing that impressed me the most was when they had the lead in the fourth quarter, they were nearly perfect in closing that game out. Don't turn it over, make their foul shots, score on offense, don't allow anything easy on the other end. All the ingredients you need to win a game, especially on the road when you have the lead. And sometimes you don't see that from a relatively inexperienced team and certainly an inexperienced head coach, but they've done a remarkable job improving as the season has gone along. Well, a team that had a rough week was the Franklin Regional Girls. They dropped a couple of key matchups. They fell in overtime at Shaler Area. That was highly anticipated. They lost 60-56, and then they got on the wrong side of a 63-45 outcome at Plum against the Mustangs. It's a team that last year had a remarkable season, a historic season, but they graduated 4 of 5 starters. Chloe Puchka, the lone returner. I'd be curious to see how it played out. I think that they've surprised in a pleasant way, but unfortunately, Jack, they were pretty close this past week, but going 0 for 2 against a couple of games that probably would have changed their season around had they won them.
Well, you said it right there, Sean. I mean, it's a young team. And I think we can go back in time and look at Franklin Regional, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, where they were kind of in the same position. A very young team, had a young class. And as a result, as time went on, we saw them get better. And then we saw it culminate in what it was last year, capturing a section championship for the first time in a long time. So I think this Panthers team, again, it's got the right ingredients to build a lasting program, lasting success. Having somebody like Bernie Puchka there at the helm, he obviously is coming from a winning background during his days at Plum. But then you also, again, you have Chloe Puchka, but then Alyssa Bridges is a player that I think is going to develop really nicely. Gemma Sadowski, another young player. I mean, these are mostly sophomores, a couple
Yanniga
freshmen.
had 21 points in that game against Shaler as well. She's a good one.
Yeah, and so, I mean, you have a lot of young pieces that, you cannot get any more experience than what you're getting right now if you're on Franklin Regional Girls Basketball. Sophomores, freshmen, inexperienced juniors playing big-time varsity minutes. That's going to pay dividends down the road for this Franklin Regional team. Might not be this season. Maybe it is this season, but if it's not, it could be for years to come, and who knows, could have an even better year than it had last year, winning a section crown.
They're currently in 5th place in the section, but the teams they lost to, Plum, the first place team, Shaler tied for 2nd place. So again, if they had won those 2 games or even won one of them, it would look a lot different right now in terms of their postseason aspirations. Still have a ways to go and a potential, if they can get an upset or two, to get into the postseason. Well, a team that you and I both saw come up short this past week, Jack, the Penn-Trafford boys. You saw them fall pretty surprisingly, I would say, at home against Laurel Highlands. I had them 3 days later. They came up short against Franklin Regional. It was 64-62 Mustangs and then 64-58 Panthers over them. So they're awfully close in these games. But for a team that, pretty much all the players before the season said, we want a section title, it's starting to seem like that aspiration has slipped away.
The biggest thing about this skid that Penn-Trafford is on, Sean, every single loss has been within 10 points. They're not getting blown out by any means. This is not a case where you're looking at it and saying, man, Penn-Trafford is getting mercy ruled by the third quarter. They're losing by 5 points here. They lost by 6 points to Franklin Regional last week. So they're losing in close games. And what has been the Achilles heel all year? Free throws. That's been the biggest problem for Penn-Trafford. The team itself is well constructed. There's a lot of really good players. Ethan McDonald, I think, has been a great bright spot for Penn-Trafford. Obviously, Zach Feldman. You've got Ben Leonard. You've got Peyton Mastro, who's been really good. You have really good pieces. You've got a great head coach in Doug Kelly. It's free throws. And you and I watch a lot of basketball. How many games are decided at the free throw line?
They were 10 of 21 in the loss against Franklin Regional, and they lost by 6.
There's your difference. Again, it's an interesting scenario because it's not like it's some deep-rooted thing, right? It's not like they have an issue offensively. They have something lacking defensively. It's none of that. It's free throws. And I'm sure Doug Kelly has stressed it time and time again. I'm sure they all know it. The thing is, though, everybody else now knows it. So what's it to say that in a game against, say, Gateway or, Latrobe or whomever, Latrobe is, say, down by 7 points with like 2.5 minutes to go. What's it to say they wouldn't start fouling and say, hey, we'll just put Penn-Trafford at the line and make them miss, and then we get more. I mean, teams are going to start doing that. So Penn-Trafford has to clean this up sooner rather than later because it's on a slippery slope right now.
Yeah, I believe they are well under 60% on the season. Again, they're still a team that's probably going to be in the playoffs, but for the start that they had, I thought they really would be in it till the end in terms of section supremacy, and they've fallen back a little bit. They're at 4-4, so they're currently tied with Uniontown in fourth place in this section. We'll wrap up our starting five, our biggest takeaways, with a milestone: 2,000 points. That is a lot. Erica Gribble of Greensburg Central Catholic accomplished that last Monday at Deer Lakes in a victory. Just the 7th ever girl in Westmoreland County basketball history to get to that storied mark. And she's a special one. We've known that since before she ever played a varsity game. She was getting major college interest, and she's won back-to-back championships. She's not just a scorer, she's a great player, but she's going to be remembered most as a prolific scorer.
Without question, 2,000 points is a lot of points, and it feels like every single year we always mention Erica Gribble with some sort of milestone, some sort of achievement, and it's not just once during the year. It's usually 3 or 4 times. So congratulations to her, and continues to be such a great representative of GCC girls basketball.
And earlier this season, to your point, Jack, she became the all-time girls scoring leader at GCC. She passed the previous boys record to become the all-time basketball scoring leader in school history. And it looks like she'll probably finish ballpark 2,500 points for her career if things go well. And that's going to put her even in a higher tier in terms of all-time scoring leaders. So one of the best that we have seen in a long, long time. Congrats to Erica Gribble. That'll do it for our starting five. Now let's move on to a jam-packed plays of the week. We got a ton to get to. We begin with the Penn-Trafford boys and Zach Feldman. He had a hot start on Friday at home against the Panthers. He showed his chops on both ends during an impressive sequence in that first quarter, with myself and Mark Katarski captioning the action.
The Panthers. This one on the block. Feldman swats it away. A clean block by the senior Zach Feldman, his 10th block of the season. Mastro dishes off. Beautiful feed. Feldman throws it down. An emphatic dunk by Zach Feldman.
He's pretty excited about that. Got a block, a great left-handed outlet pass, and a two-hand dunk.
We continue in that same game on the Franklin Regional side as the Panthers had the last laugh. They secured a road victory at PT with a beautiful play from Anthony Mitchell to Oliver Levin, with myself and Mark again detailing that action.
And again, Coach Kelly knows his team better than I, and he's been around a while with this. Great call again by Coach Reed.
And there's an emphatic exclamation point for Levin. 62-55, that should do it.
We'll continue plays of the week with the Hempfield Area girls, and before Norwin ultimately pulled away late, the Spartans put the pressure on the Knights in the fourth quarter earlier this week, keyed by Karina Rimmel, scoring against 3 defenders for an and one, with myself and Roger Downs highlighting that action.
Liz Urosic.
It's been the story for both teams tonight.
And that's a big hoop as the Spartans with an and one opportunity by Rimmel.
Well, from Hempfield girls to Hempfield boys, it was a big week for the Spartans. They blew past Norwin on Tuesday, and Trevor Donson helped seal the victory with his sneaky basket in the final minute, with myself providing that soundtrack.
Blank shot, he gets it back, good effort, a lot of time coming off, and the Spartans come out with it and throw it ahead to Donson. And he what a move by Donson in the finish. Spectacular fake, and Trevor Donson puts an exclamation point on it. That was unbelievable. Everyone in the gym except for Donson thought he was pulling it out.
We continue plays of the week with the Jeanette boys and the Jayhawks. They handed Clareton its first loss. Keimani Brown stole the show with a spectacular spin and hoop. followed by a Jeanette steal with Dan Flickinger and Anthony D'Annunzio setting the scene.
Jeanette has another crack at it, though, in Sunder.
Well, McGowan will continue to shoot. Better believe it. He is not scared. He's not afraid.
That's what they do, right? That's what shooters do. They shoot. What a move and the finish. T-Monty Brown gets everybody out of their seat here at the Birdcage.
McAllister steal, grabs the basketball and throws it off of a Clareton Bear, and Jeanette maintains possession. So you see Kamani Brown say, hey, I'm taking it to the rack, I'm getting 2 points. McAllister still says, I am taking care of business here on the defensive side of the ball.
Another play of the week candidate comes from the Norwin girls as Juliana Janikis had a week to remember. The freshman played well beyond her years in a come-from-behind win at home against North Hills on Thursday. Her shot put the Knights in front in the waning moments with Jack and myself on the broadcast.
Roseski.
Yorosik's so far behind the arc, she's not even an option.
Janikis for the lead! 27 seconds to go. North Hills down. Amato. Devlin. Zikafus and a timeout for North Hills, but Juliana Janikis, a superhero tonight in North Huntington.
What a shot by Juliana Janikis. And it felt like that was a game where everything she threw up was going in, and she hit the biggest one of them all.
Yeah, and earlier in the week, she was the leading scorer in the win against Hempfield Area as well. So a week to remember, certainly, for her. We will wrap up plays of the week in the college scene with Pick Greensburg's men because the Bobcats pulled out a late one at home against Hilbert on Saturday. Jackson Byer narrowly beating the shot clock, I should say, for the decisive basket on a beautiful feed from Michael Bigley, with myself calling that win.
Now down to 20 on the game. Marinchek not even looking to shoot. Thrown underneath, and it's in to beat the buzzer, and a timeout. Byer was there on the doorstep, puts it up and in, and with 10.5 remaining, Pick Greensburg has the lead. And he got that up quickly to avoid the violation.
Great stuff from UPG. Another terrific season for the Bobcats, and they are absolutely rolling now. They're one of the favorites in the AMCC. Well, speaking of favorites, Jack, we now transition to our team of the week, and they are one of the favorites once again in Class 5A, the Penn-Trafford girls. They are riding high, a 9-game winning streak, 11-3 overall, 7-0 in Class 5A Section 2. This past week, defeated Indiana, knocked off Hempfield on the road, blew out Greensburg Salem, certainly well-deserving of this honor.
I think the win against Indiana is what is so impressive to me, because it felt like, Indiana was coming into it, if I'm not mistaken, Sean, was the number one scoring defense, I think, in all of 5A, or at least up there. And, you would have never guessed that by the way Penn-Trafford played that game. This is a Warriors team that, again, did lose a lot of pieces, but key pieces, Lauren Martin and Cameron Piper from last year. You bring back basically the same team. You bring back, again, you have a new head coach. Chuck Fontana has been on the staff for many years now. So how new is that really? And I think the big thing too is that Penn-Trafford is a team that when they sense blood in the water, they go for the kill shot, and they know how to do that. That's a hard thing for teams to do, because you see teams that they get a big lead and then they get a little bit nervous, and then all of a sudden they feel the comeback coming. They know how to stomp on teams' necks and finish the job. And I think that is something that can carry them very far in the playoffs. And I'm sure they have a terrible taste in their mouth from how last season finished for them. Obviously, so much success, and you lose in the second round of the playoffs. That's got to be heartbreaking. I'm sure this is an extra motivated team with a senior in Tori DeStefano that I don't think wants to leave her high school career with anything short of a championship.
Yeah, and the great thing about her is she is just overwhelming on defense. She could just, she's going to be teammates likely next year with Mia Kalich at Seton Hill. She's kind of the same way, where she could just overpower the opposition's ball handler and just take the basketball away. Her steals numbers are ridiculous.
And I think that's where the defense really generates from her intensity. And I mean, it really is contagious. You look at Izzy Fontana, then she comes up with some steals. The Weishar sisters come up with some steals. Then all of a sudden, Rhea Johnson starts getting in on the mix. It's a very contagious thing. And again, it all starts with Tori DiStefano. Not to mention, I mean, she has been the offensive weapon that she has been since her sophomore season. So this is a Penn-Trafford team that, again, last year it had the record. I think that this year it could be a little bit more dangerous because some people might be sleeping on how good this Warriors team is.
And they've got 3 matchups this upcoming week against Greater Latrobe on Monday, Franklin Regional on Wednesday, and West Mifflin on Friday. Congrats to Penn-Trafford girls, our team of the week. Well, finally, Jack, we will wrap up with a look ahead, the ledger for this upcoming week, boys, girls, and college as well. On the boys' side, Norwin at Amani Christian on a rare Monday section contest. Tuesday, we will have a broadcast of McKeesport at Franklin Regional. Panthers trying to stay at the top of that section. Knock at Burrell and Derry Area at Greensburg, Salem as well. I mentioned that was a great matchup the first time around between the Golden Lions and the Trojans. Wednesday, Burrell at North Catholic. Thomas Jefferson is at Penn-Trafford. And on Friday, a game we will have on our airwaves, Bell Vernon at Derry Area. Jack, you and I will be together. Charleroi at Southmoreland. Pittsburgh Central Catholic at Hempfield, Upper St. Clair at Norwin, Franklin Regional at Gateway, and Uniontown at Penn-Trafford. Girls action on Monday, Penn Hills at Franklin Regional. I'll be on the call of that in Murraysville, Penn-Trafford at Greater Latrobe, and York at Bell Vernon area. Wednesday, Franklin Regional is at Penn-Trafford. Thursday, Hempfield at Mount Lebanon, Burrow at Derry Area, and Jeanette at Riverview. And on Friday, Greensburg Salem is at Kiski Area, Plum at Burrow. College action on Wednesday. Pitt Greensburg at La Roche on the men's side is going to be a great matchup. St. Vincent at Washington and Jefferson for the women's men's doubleheader. That should be a good one between Bearcats and Presidents. Saturday, Seton Hill at Edinburgh for a twin bill, and St. Vincent at Grove City, a spectacular women's basketball matchup in that one. Jack, what jumps out to you?
Central Catholic Hempfield boys, Upper St. Clair and Norwin boys. Can Hempfield keep things going? Can Norwin find some sort of answer? Because again, those are two teams that are at critical cross sections of their season. Which way do they go? I'm looking at those two games, especially for the fact that Central Catholic, Upper St. Clair, the top teams in that section, and can Hempfield and Norwin knock them off maybe and make that an even more jumbled up mess?
And on the girls' side, we talked about Jeanette early in the season. The Jayhawks are, I think, a little ahead of schedule under Jenna Lusby. They've got a test in Oakmont against the Riverview Raiders. That's a game that I think is there for the taking for Jeanette. If so, they'll be in a really good spot in terms of the section standings. Well, Jack, that's going to do it for this edition of the Westmoreland on the Hardwood podcast. Of course, check out our website all the time as well. Most recently, Westmoreland alum Q&A with Cooper Rankin, formerly of Franklin Regional, part of that team that went to the state championship, and he is now a key component at La Roche. We're going to have Ellie Snyder, formerly of Greater Latrobe, upcoming this week as well. And of course, you want to check out all of our live and archive broadcasts on the website as well. For Jack Ridenhour, Sean Myers signing off. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll catch you again next week and all season long. Westmoreland on the Hardwood podcast right here on the Westmoreland Sports Network's YouTube channel.
This is the Westmoreland on the Hardwood podcast on the Westmoreland Sports Network.